Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading The Fall of Babel. So The Fall of Babel is book 4 and the final book in the Books of Babel series, and I have reading vlogs for the 3 previous books in my channel that I will link in the description, and I will also link the playlist up there, so if you have not checked them out you can check all the reading vlogs in order. And I absolutely loved book 3, so like the previous book, so my expectations for this one were definitely very high. And I just want to say that there are definitely spoilers for what happens in this book, in this video, and having said that, let's just get into it. Okay, so I am on page 200, which means I have finished part 1. And in this part, we followed Adam. And if you saw my video for book 3, you know that I have been dying to know what happened to Adam since book 2 because he was not in book 3. So he is on the top of the tower, which is a place that people call the color of heaven. And he's with 2 people, and they are Elrin and Runa, and those 2 people are siblings, and they want Adam to meet their mother. And while they are on their way to meet their mother, Adam sees a poster of like a show, and the image in the poster is of Adam's life, and like it seems very accurate. And so after Adam meets Elrin and Runa's mother, he goes to one of those shows that is prepared by their mother. And basically, just like the poster, the show is very accurate to his life. It's like the scenes were taken out of his memory, and then we learned that they were. Because, and I think I never actually said this, but back in book 1, when Edith was basically thrown out of the parlor, she was branded on her arm so she couldn't get back there. But if she got back there and got thrown out again, they would take out one of her eyes. And that is what happened to Adam. He does not have one of his eyes. And if he went back again, they would take the other eye, but not the point here. So he doesn't have one of his eyes. And so we learn that the memories were taken out of his eye with a technology that was developed long ago. So that is how they have Adam's memories to create the show. And then Runa, who is against the eyes being used for entertainment, explains to Adam how that started happening, and that was created by the man who built the tower because he wanted to make sure that the knowledge of people who died wasn't lost. So they would take out the eyes of people who had recently passed away and who had like valuable information, that's valuable knowledge that could be necessary. So that was supposed to be how that worked, but then the people in the parlor started taking the eyes of criminals, and then the people up there in that level started using them for entertainment. And so after Adam learns about all that craziness, he also learns that basically the Black Trail, the place where the Hods move around the tower, it ends there, obviously, because it's the last place of the tower. And so he goes down into the end of the Black Trail, and he sees there are thousands of children there, orphans. And so he promises one of the adults there that he will help bring those 5,000 children up into the place where he's living now. And he obviously can't do that alone because he's in a place where, he's a visitor and he doesn't really know the place that well. So he needs help. And he asks Runa for help. And she does tell him where they can hide the children. And basically they start smuggling hundreds of children a day and start hiding them. And they are pretending to be dating so they can spend that time together, alone together. And honestly, I actually started shipping them right there. And after they are smuggling the children, they actually go to the place where they keep the eyes. And they want to see the eye of that man who built the tower because they want to see how he died because there is no consensus. And while they are there, Runa's mother and her brother Elrin get there and there is a fight. And Adam and Runa are taken by the other two, and they are gonna take Adam's other eye as punishment. But then they manage to get free, and actually Elrin and his mother are the ones who die, and Adam and Runa are safe. And we learn that all 5,000 children have been smuggled up, and Runa makes a speech for the people there. And a lot of people don't agree that they should protect the Hods because they think that they are gods who are on top of the tower and that they are more important than everybody. And so they don't want those Hods and those children there. But others are seeing Runa's point and how if they can help, why shouldn't they? And honestly, that is how part 1 ended. And I just wanted so much more. I loved everything about it and I wanted more. But after that finishes, we get to see Senlin inside of the Hot King, and he is working in maneuvering one of the legs of the machine because he thinks that that is a good place for a sabotage. Even though his plan of sabotage will kill him and everyone inside of the Hot King, but he thinks that it's worth it if he can save the tower and the people in the tower. And then Luke Merritt asks to talk to him, and we learn that he wants the paintings, those paintings, because he wants to open the vault that leads to the bridge, and he needs that combination that is in the paintings. And he wants to use the Sphinx's elevator, and Senlin has been there, so he wants Senlin to guide the crew through the path to the elevator. And so now Senlin is no longer gonna have his position in one of the legs to sabotage. And yeah, that is the last thing I read. Honestly, the last thing I read was how it ended was Senlin thinking about Maria and his daughter, which is called Olivet. And he was thinking, he only wished that she, Maria, and Olivet would live on as long as the sea, till the bright and rolling waves of their days erased the shoals of their troubled past. And that was so beautiful. And yeah, I am absolutely loving this book because I absolutely loved part 1. And like I said, I have been dying to know what Adam was up to. And at first I was so confused with what was going on. And then after I stopped being confused, I started realizing that everyone is horrible in that place, except for Runa, who is incredible. And in book 2, I remember saying that Adam was my least favorite out of the main characters. But that was probably because I didn't know him as well as the other characters, because now, after almost 200 pages of following him, I actually love him. And in this part, we had a lot of action, but also mixed with just, I said, getting to know the characters, which these books always do so well. So I literally have no complaints. And also in book 3, when we got to follow Senlin through the Black Trail, I didn't care about those chapters, but I actually did really like to see these ones inside of the Hot King. And I am very nervous for his plan for the sabotage, even though like now he has to come up with another plan. But either way, if it's gonna kill him, like I don't want him to die. So I am nervous, but I also want him to destroy the Hot King. So I don't really know what I want to happen. I just know that I don't want Senlin to die. So yeah, I am nervous, but that is everything I have to say for now, and I will update again once I finish part 2. Okay, so in all honesty, I am actually like halfway through part 3 right now, but I finished part 2 while I was on holiday and I wasn't really feeling like filming an update for this video, but I still want to talk about each part separately, so we are all just gonna pretend that I just finished part 2, which puts me at page 464. And so in this part we followed pretty much like all the characters except for Adam, who we followed in part 1. So we had Edith, Volita, Irene, Redelman, Byron, Maria, and also Senlin in a way. And with the main crew who were on the ship, which was like everyone except for Senlin and Adam, obviously, like Volita was trying to adjust to her new life after being revived by Redelman and the Sphinx's medium. And also like the whole crew, they were going through the various levels of the tower trying to find the paintings that they still need to open the vault and the bridge, and basically just trying to stop Luke Merritt from getting them. And obviously Luke Merritt wants the painting, so he is doing the same, and the Hot King is moving through the tower, and they find each other at one of the levels, but there really isn't like a confrontation because Luke Merritt already got the painting from that level, so he just starts digging through the tower. And we also get some chapters from Senlin inside the Hot King as he's trying to coordinate his sabotage plan with Finn Goal. And so back to the crew, they realize that they can't find Senlin because the Sphinx put a tracker on him, which Redelman, I think it was Redelman, knows, and he knows how to use the trackers. And when he's using the tracker, he realizes that Senlin is inside the Hot King, and that's the first time they're learning about it. And like they wanted to destroy the Hot King because they want to destroy Luke Merritt, but now they have Senlin inside, so things are a little more complicated. But anyway, they keep moving through the tower because they do still need to find the paintings, and they get to another level where the Hot King gets to as well. And this time there is a confrontation, and there is an incredible fight scene that we got to see from the people of the crew and also from the people inside the Hot King. So we got various POVs from that fight, and it just made it even better. Also, another fight scene that was incredible was when the Duke went after Maria, and he was, trying to get her back and threatening to kill her and her daughter, and then Anne was there, and then Byron got there, and Byron killed the Duke. And that was so iconic of him. Like, I loved it so much. I needed him to die in like a satisfying way, and it absolutely happened. Also, after that, because they have the tracker on Senlin, they can know where the Hot King is. So they are following it, and they know like where they are gonna go. And Redelman has a plan to basically like blow it up with a bomb. And when they find the Hot King, a bomb does go off, but it's not Redelman's bomb, and the Hot King is kind of destroyed, and then they find Fingal and John Theroux. And then we get the chapters from Senlin's POV inside the Hot King, and we learn that the bomb was Senlin and Fingal's sabotage plan. And so the Hot King is destroyed, but Luke Merritt had sort of like an escape boat that he uses with a couple other people, and he also takes Senlin because he still needs information that Senlin has. And so he goes and leaves the Hods to die because we know he never actually cared about the Hods. And basically, Luke Marrett is pretty much ready to open the vault and the bridge. And that is how part 2 ended. And I absolutely loved part 2. I also really loved part 1, but I feel like it was more about getting to know Adam better and getting to know Nebos and the situation with the Hods and like all those orphans and just setting a lot of things up. Done incredibly well, but it was more of like setup. And part 2, we also had some setup and like explanations, but it was also so action-packed, which I loved. And we got to see Maria and Anne getting used to living in the ship with the crew and just being very welcomed in there. And also, like I said, we saw Volita adjusting to her new life that is very different. And I think I forgot to mention, but she can like sort of travel to the past in her mind and like communicate with the people from that past that she visits. So that's pretty cool. And Riddleman can do the same. And like I also said, we got some incredible fight scenes and the satisfying death of the Duke. And it was even better because it was my baby Byron who killed him. And like he's the most precious character in the whole book and also a badass. And I am still very nervous about what's gonna happen at the end of this book and series because it seems like Luke Marrett has everything set up for him to succeed. And I don't want that. I only like the evil to win in horror novels, especially if it's like a supernatural evil, which is very besides the point. The point is, I am loving this book and I'm excited and I am also nervous, and I will update again once I finish it. Okay, so I have finished the book, and in this last part we get the whole crew getting to Nebos, which is the place where Adam was in the first part, and it's like the on top of the tower. And basically when they get there, there is about to be a vote on whether the Hod children should be allowed to stay there or not. And Edith intervenes and she tells the people to basically just raise their hands if they don't want the Hods to stay. And they don't do that because they're like embarrassed to admit that they don't want those orphans to have a home. People are saying that it's not fair for her to do that because votes should be secret, and Edith is saying, I can't help it if your conscience has embarrassed you. Surely what you believe in private, you can also espouse in public. There's no cause to feel intimidated. And then someone is saying, you can't threaten us, you can't force us to open our homes against our will. And Edith says, you are under the misapprehension that the privileges you enjoy are owned rather than rented. You do not hold the keys to the ringdom. The Sphinx does, and therefore I do. If you are unable to fulfill the terms of your inhabitation, there are plenty of other willing tenants waiting in the wings to take your place. And period. And while that is going on, Mario leaves the ship with her baby, Olivet, because she wants to take the baby out of the ship. And so she is walking around with the baby. And then she sees two children. And a person appears asking if she's the person responsible for those children. And Maria decides that, she can't not be in the ship with Edith, who Senlin also had something with. And so she cannot stay there. And so she decides that she's going to stay in Nebos and take care of those two kids along with her own child. And some of the others go into that reservoir for energy that was mentioned, I think was in the previous book. And Edith was the only one who had been there already. And she realizes that it's different because the energy is being drained somewhere. And then they realize that it's being drained upwards. And also they find that the Sphinx is dead, but she left a final message. She left a message for Luke Merritt and also a message for Edith. And in that message, she tells that they cannot open the bridge until everything in Nebos is sealed, and some other advices, because if that doesn't happen, everything will be lost. And also, Volita gets kind of separated from the rest of the group because she thinks that she can go find Senlin and rescue him. And of course, she's right. And then she has a conversation with Senlin. And Senlin is asking her if, like, she wished she could go back to the life she had before because she didn't appreciate the life she had. But now, she realizes how perfect it was. And then she tells him, I suppose you could look at it that way, Mr. Senlin. You could resent yourself for imperfect enjoyment of your life. But that seems to me like a never-ending chore, a thankless one too. I think that if we really knew how good our lives were while they were good, we'd be too scared to do anything, change anything. We'd never take a risk or explore or grow. You can hate yourself for not fully appreciating your happy days while you had them, or you could look back and be warmed by the memory. I never thought of it like that way, but that is true. But moving on, Marat actually follows Senlin and Volita, and he finds the others. And there is like a huge fight scene, and we have like almost one-on-one fight scenes, like several of them, because like Luke Marat and the people he brought with him against the people of our crew. And so we have several one-on-one fights, and they were all incredible. And Redelman sacrifices himself to take down Luke Marat and save the others. And he just dies along with Luke Marat. And yeah, after Luke Marat is gone, the whole city of Nebos starts separating from the tower and just flying upwards. And well, the tower is supposed to be a bridge, but when I thought about a bridge, I, was envisioning an actual bridge that got one place to the other, but I guess it was supposed to send something to the sky. And so Nebos is being sent to the sky, and Adam is still there, Runa is also there, Volita is there with Adam because she went to find him, and Mario is there with the kids, and so is Senlin because he went looking for her and the baby. And they find that they are 2 years away from their destination, but they don't know what their destination is. And also Volita and Adam are like trying to figure out where they are going, like what is going on. And then Volita stays there like alone in that place, and it's sort of like where the captain of the ship would be, the ship being the whole city of Nebos. And Volita is there, and she hears a voice, and that is Redelman's voice. He's like kind of in the ship, like the structure of the ship, like an AI, I guess. So that is happening, like his body is dead, but his consciousness is not, so he's there. And so he and Volita start trying to figure out what is happening, and at first they think that the place they are in might be like an ark that is taking them to a whole new place to rebuild a civilization, but then they realize that that might not be the case, and it might be a warship, even though they have no idea why they would be at war or who they would be at war with, but that is the best theory they can come up with. And back in the tower, the Sphinx is dead, like we know, and so we need a new Sphinx. And Byron tells Edith that the Sphinx has chosen her to be the new Sphinx. And at first, Edith didn't really want to, but then she ends up accepting the title, and she is going to try to fix what's wrong with the tower, which is a lot. And back in the Ark or whatever, Senlin has started teaching the kids who are there, and Maria is taking care of Olivet and the other 2 children she adopted, and they are talking, Maria and Senlin, and she's not ready to forgive him for everything that has happened, that she has gone through, because he decided to not accompany her at the beginning of the first book. One day she might be able to, but it will take some time. And so the book ends with them just going up towards the stars. And so let's get into my final thoughts. Okay, so this book is actually the lowest rated in the whole series, and I don't agree with that because I loved it.
And one thing that I loved and that I saw other people complaining about was the fact that we continued to follow a lot of POVs, and some people were, I guess, complaining that we didn't get enough of Senlin because the first two books were just mainly Senlin. And then on the third, we started following many other characters, and in this one, we continued to follow many other characters. But I actually really enjoyed that. And speaking of, like, continuing on that point, I also saw a lot of people complaining that we got the almost first 200 pages just following Adam, and some people were complaining that that was like unnecessary. We didn't need 200 pages of Adam, but again, I disagree. I actually really enjoyed that because in the previous books, Adam was the character that I was connecting to the least, so I didn't really care much about him. But in those 200 pages, I actually got to know him a lot better, and I love him, so I did really enjoy those 200 pages. And I also really enjoyed the From the Belly of the Beast chapters, because in the previous book, we got chapters from the Black Trail, and I didn't really care about them, but these ones, Inside the Hot King, I actually really enjoyed. And also, Fingal definitely had a good redemption for me. Now, moving on to other characters. So, starting with Irene, I absolutely continue to love her. She is incredible. She's a badass. She's also like really loving, even if she doesn't really know how to express her feelings that well. Like, she is so incredible, and I love her. And I also love her relationship with Anne, and I also love Anne. And Volita continued to be my favorite character. She continued to be an absolute badass, incredible character. And yeah, I just love her so much. I love everything about her. And in terms of Edith, I always liked Edith, but I feel like in this book I fell more in love with her, and I'm really glad that she's the new Sphinx, because I do believe that she could fix, I'm not gonna say all the tower's problems because that's a lot, but a lot of them. Byron continued to be the most precious character ever, but he was also a badass, and he killed the Duke, which was just perfect. And Riddleman definitely grew on me, and I was like affected by his sacrifice and his death. And Maria, she was definitely not the character I connected to the most, but I did like her, and I definitely understood her actions, her choices. And finally, Senlin, the main character. He's definitely not like the typical hero, at least for the longest time in the series. And I guess that was also something that I enjoyed, like seeing how much he changed because of being in the tower. Like, he had to change, how he was forced to change. Not always into a better version of himself, but the version of himself he had to be to survive. And yeah, I really liked him. I definitely loved how he was always fighting for what he believed, and fighting for his friends and for Maria, and just for the tower itself, even though the tower kind of destroyed his life. And I love how this series started with a guy like losing his wife and then trying to find her, and then it became so much more like a fight for the tower's survival. But in the end, it was still about Maria and Senlin. And speaking of the end, it was definitely not a happy ending. I was sad that some characters didn't get a proper goodbye, like Volita and Irene. They were so close, like such good friends before, and I mean, they said goodbye because Volita was sort of separating from them for a bit, but it wasn't like, a proper goodbye, like I might not ever see you again kind of goodbye. And then also Maria didn't get a goodbye with Anne, and Senlin and Edith as well. They did not get to say goodbye, and so that did make me sad. And also the ending was pretty open. We don't know what is going to happen in the tower. We don't know where the others in Nebos are going. We don't know what their destination is. We don't even know like what the purpose of them going wherever they are going is. We know literally nothing. And usually I really don't like open endings, but in this case I actually didn't mind. And just some last few things, the pacing of this book was perfect for me. In part one, it was, like I said, more of a setup to what was going to happen and just getting to know Adam better. But then we just got so much action and I just loved it. And like I've also said, there were some incredible fight scenes, a few of them that I really, really enjoyed. And yeah, I just really loved this book in general. And just like book 3, which I also absolutely loved, I am giving it 4.5 stars. And so yeah, this is everything for this week's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!